Hello, I thought I'd make this quick sort of video. Hopefully it'll be quick. Obviously I always say that and then it always ends up being like 10-15 minutes long, and obviously mentioning that is going to make it longer, which has already probably made this video boring enough for people not to want to keep watching. But as I'm going to talk about, as the video is aptly named, effort, I'm going to talk about the effort that people put into certain issues. It's mainly going to be about issues, or one specific issue that I thought about, of which a big factor of that issue is obviously the effort that people put in. And on a quick note, obviously I feel like that is correct to assume, because if people put no effort into something, nothing's going to change, nothing's going to happen. For instance, I just thought before making this that I can talk about my university degree as a anecdote that supports this, that if I put no effort into my university degree, which some people who probably know me know that I could probably put more effort into, which is probably bad to say if prospective employers see this, which I know for a fact, so that sort of allows me to counteract that, because I understand that. So that's probably then worse that I don't put as much effort, I nearly said not a lot effort, into my degree then, which would have been a very bad thing to say, but even still the fact that I nearly said it shows that I sort of don't. But as much effort as I probably need to, I definitely put in less effort than I should, and I feel that I should, which is the weird thing. Obviously I understand at this point that I'm going to call the video effort, just effort as well, because it's short, snappy. It's like, ooh, what's that about? It's quite vague, leaves people guessing, so they have to click on the video, which is another piece of advice which I always like to give out, whether it's warranted or not, as someone with 20 something subscribers. Definitely not 30 yet, I don't think. Oh, actually, did we hit the 30 milestone? But basically, so to sort of back up whether my advice is warranted or not, I have literally 1,000 times the followers on this, literally, on TikTok, which is where I sort of started this recent content creator journey, sort of in lockdown, the great lockdown of like April, May 2020, when everyone was getting TikTok. I made some funny videos and stuff. I got like 100 followers, but then it was weirdly January, whilst I was here in university. No, it wasn't January. It was because it was in the first term. It was as soon as I started in first term. I think it was in October, I want to say, not September. Yeah, because I think I'd been to like a couple of lectures, so it was in October. And by a couple of lectures, I don't mean that my attendance isn't that good. My attendance, obviously, as I've said, with my input into my university degree, isn't that good. But anyway, I'm talking too much about it. So it was a couple of lectures in, of which I mean that it was that far into the university term that there weren't many lectures. So that's how I'm basing the time off it. And you can see the tangents that I'm going on, and I've barely even touched the subject that I wanted to talk about. But as I've said in previous videos, it's sort of like a video diary, me just rambling and reflecting on how my day's been, which is what I tried to do when I had daily videos. But anyway, so it was about in like October that then I made like one stupid TikTok with this Lego Spider-Man, the infamous famous one, which probably people don't even know me for, and I wouldn't expect them to, even though I do have the second most viewed video on the hashtag Spider-Man meme on TikTok, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. And then so that's when I recently then started to get big on TikTok, which, just to quickly say, like, I tell people, or not necessarily tell people, be like, oh, by the way, did you know I've got a certain amount of followers on TikTok? But if someone mentions TikTok, and like, for instance, this happened in like a so I do Frisbee at university. So in the Frisbee quiz on like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, because pandemic, I hosted. I put jokingly at the start of the slideshow, can Callum, that's my name if you haven't guessed, or you didn't know. Callum's Frisbee quiz, blah blah blah, and I put underneath it on the sub box at Rowlo32 on YouTube and TikTok. And so someone who didn't know me but joined for that quiz went, "Oh, I'll check you out on TikTok," and went, "Whoa, you've got like 25,000 followers," and I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, you know." So that's why I like to think that my advice is kind of warranted, at least more so than if I had 0. And that goes without saying. That's definitely proven because, for instance, who's the most famous person in the world? Most likely Donald Trump. Even now, not being president, he probably still is the most famous person in the world. And when he had a Twitter account, something that he would post would make global news because whether it's stupid or not, it just would be that famous. And he has like millions of followers, and he just is that level of famous. Like the fame correlates and is proportional. Same thing. I like to say proportional though, even though correlates is the same sort of thing. That amount of followers is proportional to his fame. Like for instance, look at someone like David Attenborough and Rupert Grint. They were already that famous. Started Instagram like 3 weeks ago or something. Time's a bit fuzzy right now. But as soon as they started Instagram, they both broke records for most followers in like a day. I think they both got like 1 million followers in like a day. I think Rupert Grint broke David Attenborough's record. So clearly, because they were just so famous, they were obviously just going to get followers straight away. So if I had 0 followers, I wouldn't be famous at all. And my advice, or what I like to say, like my points that I want to get across, would have just no weight at all. Whereas if I had, 10 million followers on TikTok, YouTube, or whatever, it would be like, whoa. I've just woken my housemate up. How's it going? I'll pause this. Right, so obviously, as I just mentioned, I paused that because I saw that my housemate had awoken, and as I was going to mention, but obviously now this is the best time to mention that I'm recording this at literally 6:05 in the morning. And so I saw through the crack in my door that he walked to the toilet or whatever. I know he walked to the toilet because I heard him walk, well, I could see him walk into the toilet. So I've now taken my coat. I'm trying to make this interesting, but let's be honest, if you're already here, now this is where I like to talk about advice and just sort of riff off things that especially come to my head straight away. Tangents, but what was the tangent? Oh god. I'm trying to make it interesting, aren't I? Because I'm going on this stupid tangent about how I've now shut my door, but to shut my door I had to take my coat off from like the corner of my door, which is where I hang it, because I never normally, there's no point having your door shut, which is something that my brother told me. He was like, when you go to university, don't have your door shut, have it more, open, because it's like you don't want to be the person that's locked in your room, locked away in your room all the time, for instance. Which I've taken on board. I understood that made perfect sense, and that's why I practiced that. But obviously now I've shut my door, so I took my coat off because there's nowhere else to hang my coat, so I just do it on that because I may as well. So I've taken my coat off, so I've shut my door, so hopefully I don't wake up my housemate again. If I did wake him up, I've effectively been playing music at a sort of normal volume. I was trying to think, what sound level? Volume. Normal volume, so clearly, if that didn't wake him up, then me talking to myself. I don't even think I think he was just in the zone when you're like still half asleep and you just, not sleepwalking, but you know what I mean. Because I think if you'd noticed me speaking to my iPhone that's on my laptop, which is sort of a catchphrase, because that's how, if you notice, apart from the videos that I've uploaded that are recycled TikToks for content, it's literally me just doing this, talking to my iPhone, which is reversed on my laptop, which can be a negative because I can't actually see what I'm doing, but I understand exactly, like, there's not much that can go wrong with this. Anyway, right, forget everything that I've just said, so I'm going to talk about the whole point of the video, which is called effort, and I'll try and do it quickly now, even though there should probably be more weight on this actual subject than all the other stupid stuff I've talked about. But the reason for the video, the main body of the video, which is obviously going to be stupid because it's going to be a percentage of the first bit, but even not if I'm still riffing like this. But it's still fun to make videos like this anyway, and like no one's ever going to see all of this. Well, if they do, then I've succeeded, but if they don't, then it's fine. So it's sort of a win-win. Anyway, so the video is obviously called Effort, which normally I struggle for the name, and in my videos I'm like, this is again another tangent. Normally I struggle for the name in the video, and whilst I'm talking like this, I sort of go and ask. I shouldn't have said go then. I sort of go and ask, sort of worked. I made it work, but obviously, if you've figured out at this point, I'd like to say good at ad-libbing and making sure it'd work, especially when it is literally me just talking unfiltered. I try to make it seem not boring, but it is still just someone talking, so it can be boring. Whereas it's literally just a podcast, like, effectively, at this point. Anyway, so I normally try and figure out in the video, and I ask questions to, the audience that is subjectively there. I go, oh, I wonder if I'll call the video this, and then at that point I go, find out, you'll already know, you'll already have that perspective of if I called it that. So obviously this one's called Effort, and I'm finally going to try and hopefully get to the point of why it's called Effort. And obviously, as I've said, I'm recording this late at night, but I did think about this earlier in the day. Thought about it early in the day because, for instance, I looked at like the rubbish, the bins, in the kitchen, the trash, garbage, whatever. And obviously, I see that certain things are like in the wrong bins. Now, I'm a very tedious person. Everyone who knows me, who's watching this, who probably hasn't even made it this far, because let's be honest, they wouldn't care. If I knew someone else who made YouTube videos like this, I probably wouldn't stick around this long either. Although, if I found it as interesting as I know that I find this, then I probably would, but that's hard for me to believe I would find someone else's content as interesting as I find this. Just because that's, my personal belief that this is good content. But anyway, so people who know me know that I'm literally, as I'm going to say, pedantic. Was that the word I used? No, I said tedious. But this links to my point, is that literally just talking to one of my other housemates today, he said, you are so shallow and facetious. You are so shallow and pretentious. And I went, don't you mean pedantic and facetious? And then immediately just ran off because I just proved his point, effectively. And I was saying like the best words to use, I told him later, I was like, the best words to use are definitely pedantic, tedious and facetious, as opposed to shallow and pretentious. Because you could be pretentious but not pedantic, etc. Anyway, so I'm very pedantic and people know that, and especially about stuff like putting stuff in the bins, because if I'm stood in front of two bins, I've got something in my hand that I'm going to put in the bins, I may as well just put it in the right one. And if I know which one the right one is, which obviously I like to find out, because it helps, so I put that effort in to put it in the right one, and that effort to remember which one's the right one. And people will see that as tedious, that I then also correct people on what they've put in specific bins. And obviously that's them not having the effort for putting up with me telling them where to put it. But it's like, if I didn't tell them, it wouldn't change. I wouldn't be able to impose my want for it to be in the right bin. And so that's the effort that I'm putting in. The effort that they're putting in is their want to put it in the first place, which I already sort of tick the box off. And then there's my effort, which I don't all the time go, you need to put that in there, because at the point it's just going to seem stupid. On a human level, that is stupid. For me to keep going, you're putting it in the wrong bin. That's in comedy things like, In sitcoms, you know, that's like the Sheldon Cooper. He's incredibly facetious and tedious and pedantic about stupid things, and that's why it's funny. So it would be funny, weird, stupid for me to do that. But if nobody does that, if I don't do that, then they definitely won't. And then that's the reason why it's called effort, as I've said, because it's me putting in that effort to tell them having the effort to put up with me, them in the first place maybe having the effort to do that, which affects basically the outcome of, for instance, the rubbish, the environmental issues that are created around rubbish being in the wrong place. And obviously, yes, you could say, oh, no matter which bin you put it in, it'll get sorted later. But at the end of the day, if people keep putting stuff in bins and then they end up in the ocean, I've not gone 50 miles to the Irish Sea and personally put like a Red Bull can in the sea. But if something ends up sort of there, it's clearly happened through the third party that is supposed to dispose of the waste, like councils and governments. So that's where I feel like, as long as, like, if I'm doing my effort, my part to put it in the right place, then it shouldn't end up there. So obviously you can say that it's overridden by sorting out in thingy, but then clearly it wouldn't be. Because if it was, then it would be on the people. But then that contradicts the other point that obviously one of them's got a bit of fault. But then if we're putting the effort in, we'll at least find the fault in being the councils and the governments, which I feel like it is. Because all my life I've been putting stuff in the correct bins and whatever, because I may as well. Like, it takes a second, if that, like a millisecond to just go, yeah, put that in the bin. It's autonomous as well. When you practice it all the time, you put stuff in the correct bins, and it doesn't even take any time to think about. And so that's why putting that effort in, which doesn't even have to be effort, it's like, because I know which bins stuff goes in where, it takes no effort for me now to just do it, because I've learned it. And so that's another one where, like, if we're prepared to learn something, it's gonna fix it. Now, I made a video like ages ago about discrimination and my like views on it, which obviously being a white straight male, I've, as I said in that video, you can imagine, have faced absolutely no discrimination whatsoever. And if for some reason you're still watching at this point, one, thank you. Two, you might think, why are you talking about discrimination now? Because it's the same sort of thing about the effort. One, you have to put the effort in, which is not a lot, really, especially to a non-racist to not be racist. Like, you have to put effort in to be racist. So clearly you don't have to put effort in to not be racist. The effort is just not being racist. Look at me now, just not being racist. It's no effort. Like, I spoke actually with my housemates. We were talking about like homophobia, for instance, and it's like, why my housemate actually said, and I'm going to quote him on this, and I don't think he'd care about me stealing his line, but he's like, why are you getting pressed over that? I'm me right now, sat here. There's a gay person sat there, but right, yeah, they're gay. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with me, like, at all. So why would I get pressed over it? If it's imposed, yeah, like, but then that's a completely separate issue. And so, as I said about the effort to not be racist, solves that issue. And my main issue was like the environment thing with the bins. That was the point. But obviously it comes on to this. As I said, there's a lot of issues that are solved with this effort principle. And on a quick note as well, this is something that I'm gonna believe until the day I die, which is quite a weird way to put it, but it's just something I'll always believe. And obviously at the moment, having like 29 subscribers or what have you, I'm pretty sure it's 30 now, the chances are that no one's going to see this, like, as no one in terms of the people that I want this message to get across, because I believe that I think it's good. Put the effort in and it solves the problems. That's simple as. Might do my university coursework. If I put the effort in, then I'm able to solve the problems, literally, because I study maths, it's problem solving, so I'm able to do it. So there's loads of issues, and but what I was saying is, and then say in the future I have like 1 million subscribers, I can just redo this video showing what I believe. And obviously then if no one's seen it now, then no one will know it's reposted, but even reposting something that still holds is fine. Like, I could make 1 million videos, 1 + 1 = 2, and it would be a bit repetitive, but it'd still be fine. But you could only have a go at me making them repetitive if you knew about them in the first place, and obviously I'm making this point now that you wouldn't know about this video. Going back to the discrimination thing, obviously then there's the effort of not being racist, but then there's also the effort of being anti-racist. This might devalue the whole video, but I'm going to quote Logan Paul when, obviously I say when, because obviously the Black Lives Matter thing sort of peaked, and then now it's sort of, it has, sadly, because it's something that still needs to be pushed for, sort of now become less popular, for instance, which seems bad to say. Like, I'm obviously not saying it in terms of me putting it down, but I just, from my viewpoint on social media as a 22-year-old, that it is just less out there now, although it did help in bringing the average up in recent times. Of like, that spike brought the average up of how many people are aware of racism and all this. And so what I'm going to quote in Logan Paul is he said he obviously learned from that spike. As I said, it's educated a lot of people, that he learned, as a lot of other people did, and as I'm now taking on board as well, that it's not enough just to not be racist. So it's not enough to have the effort to not be racist. You have to have that effort to be anti-racist. He said it's not enough just to not be racist, you have to be anti-racist. You know, if there's a racist person over there, you know, you don't like them. You know, he said, go punch them. If you know someone who's a racist, punch them in the face. And he sort of said, which is what I'm going to say now. He was like, no, wait, don't do that. And he was like, no, you know what, do that. And it's sort of the same thing with, like, I'm going to go into history now as well. World War II, we didn't just, you know, not be Nazis, just not be racists. We were anti-racist, we were anti the Nazis, we fought them because they were doing all the wrong, horrible things that they were doing. And so that's where, again, it shows that you have to put that effort in and it'll solve the problem. So it's sort of like me putting the effort in to not litter or put rubbish in the wrong place. Littering as well, like you put the effort in to walk to a bin, to hold a piece of rubbish in your hand. It's not that hard. You could be a clean freak and still realise that the environmental issues are more important than you having like some germs on your hand. You could have like mega OCD to the point where it would really trigger you. I've talked about it, that I feel like I've said trigger, which obviously was a bit of a meme like a couple of years ago. Trigger, Logan Paul, homophobia, discrimination, littering, me talking about my YouTube channel. It's been a proper whirlwind of a podcast episode. But this is all stuff that I'm going to be able to talk about later as well. So the content sort of holds, obviously. But like I said, this is just a stream of things that have come to my head and that I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to quickly stop my TV from turning off. But yeah, I think that's a good point to end it. Obviously, however long this is, I'm then just realising that I need to go on iMovie and stick it with the other one and then upload it on YouTube and then remember to delete it off, which is going to take about, especially with uploading, probably like 10 minutes or something. And then obviously I need to get to bed because it is 6:30. But I've been doing my university work up late at night. And I said it was like 6 o'clock already. In fact, I said it was 6:05. So I know for a fact I'm at least 16 minutes into this. And I hope, I was going to say I hope that's not just this video, but it is for a fact, because obviously I talked about it when my housemate woke up. But at this point in the night, the early morning where I've stayed up, like, I'm crazy creative, which is probably there's probably some psychological aspect of that, because on normal days I know for a fact I'm maybe not nearly as creative, but this is definitely like peak like creativity. I'll go out for a cigarette. Sorry that I smoke, even though it's a taboo, but like, it's so much a taboo that I feel like if someone sees me biting cigarettes or smoking, that who doesn't know that I smoke, it's a bit like, oh yeah, sorry, I smoke. But anyway, so I'll be outside having a cigarette, and maybe I'll either have TikTok in my hand or I won't. And I'm just thinking of ideas of TikToks that I can make, points that I can put across, and advice I can give, and stuff like that, and etc, etc, etc. So this is where I'm going to leave off. Thank you for watching again. I'll do my classic intro, which is going to bring me back to, well, 2 months ago, when I did say I was going to try and do daily uploads just like this, but obviously it does take a lot of time out of my day, albeit it makes me happy getting to share my point across, my very facetious, pedantic, tedious points. In this video diary, I can reflect sort of way. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.